Yeah, Chris, I was going to say, obviously, you're with Saturday Down South again, co-host of the podcast. Just give people that maybe are unfamiliar with you again. I don't know how they would be, but because we've shared your stuff, I'm sure all SEC fans getting familiar with you. But just tell people about yourself a little bit. Obviously, you kind of mentioned how you got your start with Saturday Down South, but looking at your Twitter handle, you're the engagement editor. Like I said, you're a graphic design specialist. I know you love the feedback from the audience on your professional graphics you post. But no,
Oh
seriously,
my God.
just let people know kind of your story, like when you started with Saturday Down South, kind of what you do now. Again, you guys put out
Yeah.
a fantastic product. The social media handles or pages are awesome. The podcast is awesome. Just give people kind of the rundown on what you guys do.
Yeah, man. So basically, I started with SES in 2017. I had done on-camera work and just different stuff, and like I said, stand-up comedy for years and years. And you'll have to excuse me. I apologize. I'm sitting here for work. I'm having to play online poker right now, so that's why there's a distraction. No, so I started in 2017. Like I said, I met my boss. He came in to Houston's, and like it was like the lamest, whitest thing imaginable. He was like, I heard him say Auburn and Tuscaloosa, and I was like, "You guys talking football over here?" And just like hijacked the conversation, started talking to him, and he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, I have a blog." It's like what? Like it was like the lamest thing ever.
That guy.
Yeah, that guy. And so, I'd started this blog of my own called Winning and Boozing, and it was on a website called Red, White, and Bro. And so the winning and boozing thing I did, I've been doing it for years, and it's like honestly, it's like my baby, it's my favorite thing. Where I did a preview every week, and it's like all satire based and like pretty dirty. Not dirty, it's just like not clean.
Right.
And so and break down the games, and then also talk about what drinks you would have at each tailgate, and the whole thing was just like more comedic and everything like that. And so I told him about it, and he somehow saw it, liked it, and was able to filter through all the F words and thought I would be a good fit. And so I just started part-time with him and doing some stuff, like going on different trips. Actually, when I first started, the first thing I ever did was they sent me to a different campus for the first 3 weeks of football for 3 straight weeks. And I just went out with a camera crew and went to all the downtown, like the best spots downtown, the bars, all that kind of stuff, like restaurants. And then just took in a game weekend in like Athens, Tuscaloosa, and Gainesville. It was probably, as much as I love my job now, it was like the pinnacle of my work ever. It was awesome. It was awesome. So that is kind of transition now into this engagement editor, which is it's just a fancy title for I do social media stuff. I make memes, and I do the podcast as well. And that's about it. It's a blast, man. It's a lot of fun. I'm not a graphic designer. Our graphic designer moved on to big and better things with Fox out in LA, and so now I'm having to do all the graphics. And if you guys missed it, I was the idiot a couple weeks ago that spelled Carolina Carlona. I spelled it wrong twice. Somehow. I literally have a driver's license from that state. My family lives in Lexington. I don't know how I did that.
What was it? The Tails, California, heads, Carolina?
It's Carolina, Tails, California. Oh, my God. I got reamed for that one.
No, dude, what I love, though, and respect about what you guys do and just kind of hearing your story, I mean, I definitely think, talking about your path, and I kind of relate to what I'm doing in the sense of what I love about what you guys do and the content you create is it's not like your traditional, boring, like mundane, and that's no disrespect to anybody who is a journalist or working for a local newspaper or whatever website you're working for. But I definitely think we've seen a shift in media where, I think it's great. I think more people have an opportunity to, if you have a certain talent or you have a personality or you're good on camera, or you're good behind a microphone, or you're good making graphics, or you're good whatever, if you can get creative with it and kind of give it a personality, like I think we're seeing that a lot more take over media. People are using different channels to express that. And I think you guys, especially, like the memes you put out and stuff like that, it's really fun. It's creative. It's unique. And I think it engages the common fan, which is sort of the end goal behind what you do. Because if you don't have their interest, what do you really have in the end? So I would say kudos to you and what you guys do for sure.
I appreciate that, man. I'll be honest. Like when I first started doing it, not in an arrogant way or anything like that, but I know I'm funny, and I know that like I knew I could do the job because like I said, it's just making memes, stuff like that, and trying to make people laugh. But I tell you what, the SEC fan base is like being your demo audience is sometimes tough, and also like I think when I first started, a lot of the like our audience was a little bit older, and so it's just funny, and you know this as well as anybody. jumping from like platform to platform, how you have to kind of like
Oh
change
yeah.
what the message is or how
Hmm.
it's presented, because something that goes well like on Instagram, it's like a younger audience, does not go well on Facebook. Or so it's always funny to me because you'll see stuff, and like I always make it a point to say like I'm not a journalist. Like I'm not
Yeah.
trying to win a Pulitzer. I'm trying to make people laugh. I'm trying to like have like a lighter side of things. And it's always funny when you'll post something and you'll go through it and it's like, oh, this is great, and then you see someone who's like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. Like, cool, awesome, thanks, Dad.
People on social media cannot just see something they dislike and just scroll past it and not let it
No,
bother the day. It's impossible. It is impossible for that. I mean, what you're saying is funny though, because not to make this about me, but I'll have people say like, try to take some jab or whatever about like, oh, he's not a real media source or he's not like a real insider. I'm like, do you realize I have 2 T-shirts that have media and insider in quotation marks? Like
right,
it's a joke. I get it. Like I don't want to. You're not trying to be anything you're not. It's like when people
yeah,
ask, I'm like, I'm just me. Like I'm a content creator. That's the way you look. You're a
right.
content creator. That's what you do.
I think it was interesting when I first started because I had a real tough time, honestly, until this past year, like kind of teeter-tottering back and forth with what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. And a lot of it was like, I get so obsessed with like wanting to be taken seriously because if I say something and people don't like it, it's like, well, obviously he's a comedian or he's a Bama fan.
Right.
He just, he's a homer. And so I would really stress about like, okay, I need to know all the stats. I
You're
need to
saying in the
know,
beginning, right?
yeah, well, like
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
up until like last year. And I had a
Right, right.
talk with Chris Doring, who's a guy I met, like, I guess like in my background story, I said I was bartending at Houston's. I was also bartending at the Omni right before I started working at SDS. And then like,
Mm.
also part-time when I was working with SDS. And so randomly during March Madness, I ran into Chris Doring and I recognized him. And I think I can share this story. I was like, hey, are you Chris Doring? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, oh man, my name's Chris. I work for SDS. And I was like very small at the company at that point.
Mm.
And he was like, what do you do? I was like, I run the podcast. He goes, tell you what, I'll just be honest here right now. I had a couple drinks. I hate John Christ, and I'm never coming back on that podcast. And it was the guy that like I had replaced, and I was like, oh, because they had some like back and forth, or like
Right,
they
right.
butted heads, they like Florida and Florida State or whatever. And so I ended up hitting it off. It was funny because they had me in this little sidebar, and they didn't give me a way to like collect money,
Right.
so I'm just handing out free drinks all night. So Doring thinks I'm like hooking him up the whole time, and we hit it off, and he ended up being like super helpful in like getting my start and stuff like that, and being available for interviews. But one of the things he told me was like, you have to like pick an identity almost. Like, I really
Yeah.
enjoy like having all of like the boxes checked and knowing all the stats and all that kind of stuff, and feeling like I'm a credible source. But I tell you what, like you said earlier, I think there's a lot of people that like want to consume stuff from people they can relate to, and not
Right.
just somebody spouting out numbers. And
Right.
I think he told me at the beginning of this year is like, you got to make pick a side. Like, you want to be like Pat Mac, or do you want to be like
Mm.
just another guy like crunching numbers and stuff like that? And so
Yeah, no, I think definitely. I think you've got to find your niche, find your lane, and really just get after it in that regard. I would say, like I said, getting back to you're a content creator. One of the best pieces of content you ever made, man, I'm sure it did well, was when you called me a bearded tomato. If you didn't notice, I'm wearing the exact same tank top that I was wearing that day. I was thinking about this too earlier. I promise we're going to get into football in just a second, but I
yeah.
was thinking about this too earlier. That aren't you so glad that I like wasn't one of those people that
Oh
takes
my God.
everything just so seriously and like, I mean, because it could have been the
I
other
thought you were
way.
gonna beat the shit out of me.
No,
When
it
you
could have
first
been
started
the
talking, I
other
was like,
way.
this dude's gonna jump me, and like, because we talked beforehand about meeting up at the Bama game.
That's right. Oh, it was before that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Well,
so,
anyway,
but
yeah.
if you don't know the story, basically, you're still saved in my phone as bearded tomato. Like when I talk about like talk about working on stuff or coming on the radio with you or podcasts or working on memes and stuff, and I'll tell my fiance, and she's like, "Oh, is that bearded tomato?" Like, and like it's all out of love too. But when last year, the first week of the season, obviously when South Carolina had a tough loss,
Lost to UNC. Yeah.
yeah, and you posted this video. And so I was doing this video series called College Football Uncensored, where we'd go around the internet and find like the funniest stuff from the weekend. And I think my boss sent me that video, and it was just you going Firewall Muschamp, and you had this like beet red sunburn.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And and then like I think what you said like actually goes a long way, because people are so quick to get defensive online, and that could have easily spiraled out of control. But I'm glad it worked out well for us.
Yeah, trust me, I still see it every now and then on social media of like, oh, is that lobster boy talk? Like people that don't like me. I'm like, dude, I'll take the L. I honestly did not tan last summer at all. Worked on a golf course most of the time. Did not tan last summer. I was pale. I underestimated. I thought I was tougher in the sun. I thought I was tougher in the sun, and indeed I was not. So